10 signs someone secretly respects you, even if they never say it. Have you ever wondered what people really think about you when you're not in the room? Not what they say to your face, but what they genuinely feel. Respect is one of the most misunderstood human emotions. Many people confuse it with popularity. Others mistake it for fear. Some spend years chasing admiration, without realizing that true respect rarely announces itself. It reveals itself quietly, through behavior, through choices, through the small things people do when they have nothing to gain. Today, we're exploring 10 subtle signs that someone genuinely respects you, even if they've never said the words out loud. By the end of this documentary, you may begin seeing your relationships in an entirely new way. Imagine planting a tree. For weeks, nothing seems to happen. No fruit, no shade, no visible reward. But beneath the surface, the roots are growing. Respect works much the same way. Unlike attention, respect doesn't always make noise. It develops quietly through consistency, integrity, humility, and trust. Many people spend their lives trying to appear impressive. Yet the people who earn lasting respect rarely focus on appearances. They focus on character. The fascinating part is this. Psychologists who study relationships often find that trust and respect are built gradually through repeated interactions rather than dramatic moments. Small, consistent behaviors often matter more than grand gestures. So how do you know if someone truly respects you? Let's begin with the first sign. They listen carefully when you speak. Think back to the last time you shared something important with another person. Did they interrupt every few seconds? Did they glance repeatedly at their phone? Or did they give you their full attention? Listening is one of the clearest expressions of respect. The fascinating part is this. When someone genuinely values you, they don't merely wait for their turn to speak. They become curious. They ask thoughtful questions. They remember details from previous conversations. That doesn't mean they always agree with you. Respect isn't agreement. It's the willingness to treat another person's thoughts as worthy of attention. Imagine a mentor sitting across from a young employee. The mentor could easily dominate the conversation with advice. Instead, he asks, "What do you think?" That simple question communicates something powerful. Your perspective matters. People who respect you create space for your voice, not because they have to, because they choose to. Story. A young engineer joined a company filled with experienced professionals. He expected to spend years proving himself before anyone noticed his ideas. During one meeting, he nervously suggested a different approach to a difficult problem. The room became quiet. Then the senior director leaned forward and asked, "Tell us more." For the next 5 minutes, everyone listened. Some challenged his ideas. Others built upon them. By the end of the meeting, not every suggestion was accepted. But something far more important had happened. He had been heard. Years later, he said that moment changed his confidence forever. Sometimes respect isn't shown by applause. It's shown by attention. Life application. The next time someone is speaking to you, try one simple habit. Put your phone away. Maintain eye contact. Don't interrupt. When they're finished, ask one thoughtful follow-up question. You may discover that listening strengthens relationships more than giving perfect advice ever could. But listening isn't the only quiet sign of respect. There's another behavior that's even more revealing. People who truly respect you also trust you with responsibility. 2. They trust you with responsibility. Imagine a manager overseeing a team of 20 people. A critical project lands on their desk. The deadline is tight. The stakes are high. There is no room for careless mistakes. Out of everyone available, they call your name. Why? Perhaps it isn't because you're the smartest person in the office. Perhaps it isn't because you've worked there the longest. More often than we realize, people give responsibility to those they respect. Responsibility is expensive. Every responsibility carries risk. Your reputation, your time, your resources, your trust. People rarely hand those things to someone they don't believe in. Respect isn't always spoken. Sometimes, it's demonstrated through confidence. When someone says, "Can you handle this?" what they're often communicating is, "I believe you can." That belief is one of the highest forms of respect. Story. A young architect had only been with her firm for 8 months when the lead designer suddenly became ill. A major client presentation was only 2 days away. Everyone expected the company to postpone the meeting. Instead, the director walked into her office. He placed the project folder on her desk and quietly said, "I trust you." She was terrified. She doubted herself. She rehearsed late into the night. When presentation day arrived, she wasn't perfect, but she was prepared. The client approved the project. Years later, she reflected on that moment and said, "The presentation didn't change my career. Someone's trust changed my career." Respect often grows when people see potential in us before we see it in ourselves. Think about the people who have entrusted you with something meaningful: a child, a friendship, a business decision, a personal secret. Those moments weren't accidents. They were evidence of confidence, and confidence is one of the quiet languages of respect. There's another sign that's even easier to overlook. People who respect you don't just trust you with work, they trust you with the truth. 3. They feel comfortable being honest with you. Imagine asking a friend, "What do you really think?" Most people hesitate. They worry about offending you. They soften every criticism. They tell you what they think you want to hear. But every now and then, you meet someone who speaks honestly, respectfully, kindly, without pretending. That kind of honesty is rare, and it usually grows where respect already exists. People who don't respect you often tell you whatever is easiest, whatever avoids conflict, whatever helps them leave the conversation quickly. But someone who truly values you is willing to have uncomfortable conversations because they believe the relationship is strong enough to handle the truth. Honesty isn't always pleasant, but it is one of the greatest gifts genuine respect can offer. A successful author once gave an early draft of his book to two friends. The first smiled and said, "It's amazing." The second paused before replying. "May I be honest?" He pointed out weak chapters, confusing arguments, a slow introduction. The author felt disappointed, but he revised the book. Months later, it became a bestseller. When asked who deserved the most credit besides himself, he mentioned the friend who cared enough to tell him the truth. Flattery feeds the ego, honesty feeds growth. The next time someone offers respectful criticism, pause before becoming defensive. Ask yourself, are they trying to hurt me or help me? Sometimes the most uncomfortable conversations become the most valuable ones. Respect also reveals itself in another fascinating way. When you're not in the room, how do people speak about you? That question brings us to the fourth sign. 4. They defend your reputation when you're not present. Imagine leaving a meeting. The door closes behind you. The conversation continues. Someone makes an unfair comment about you. At that moment, your reputation is no longer in your hands. It's in theirs. People who secretly respect you don't remain silent when you're treated unfairly. They don't exaggerate your achievements. They don't pretend you're perfect, but they refuse to let falsehood replace truth. That is one of the clearest signs of genuine respect. Anyone can praise you while you're listening. Character is revealed by what people say after you've left the room. A manager later discovered that during a hiring meeting, another executive had questioned his integrity. Before he could respond, one colleague calmly said, "I've worked with him for 5 years. If we're going to evaluate him, let's do it based on facts, not assumptions." Nothing dramatic happened. There was no applause, no public recognition, but years later, the manager still remembered that moment, because loyalty expressed in your absence is one of the purest forms of respect. Be the kind of person who protects another person's reputation when they aren't there to protect themselves. That habit doesn't just reveal your character, it builds trust that lasts for years. But perhaps the most powerful sign of all isn't what people say, it's what they remember. 5. They remember the little things about you. Imagine meeting someone you haven't seen in over a year. As you greet each other, they smile and ask, "How's your mother doing? Last time we spoke, she wasn't feeling well." For a moment, you're speechless. You had almost forgotten mentioning it, but they didn't. Why? Because people remember what they value. In psychology, attention and memory are closely connected. We tend to remember details that feel meaningful to us. When someone consistently remembers the small things about your life, it often reflects genuine care and respect. It's easy to remember birthdays because social media reminds us. It's easy to congratulate someone after seeing an announcement online. But remembering the conversation you had 6 months ago, the dream you shared, the interview you were nervous about, or the name of your child, that's different. It says, "You mattered enough for me to pay attention." Respect is often hidden inside small acts of remembrance. An elderly school principal retired after 40 years of teaching. During his farewell ceremony, thousands of former students attended. People expected emotional speeches. Instead, something extraordinary happened. As each former student approached him, he greeted them by name. Not just their names, he remembered the clubs they joined, the sports they loved, even the careers they had once dreamed about as teenagers. Many of those students later said they felt seen for the first time in their lives. His memory wasn't extraordinary because he had a perfect brain. It was extraordinary because he paid attention to people. And attention is one of the greatest expressions of respect. Here's a simple challenge. The next time someone tells you something important, write it down after the conversation. Their birthday, their dream, their upcoming interview, their child's name. Then, weeks later, ask them about it. You'll discover something remarkable. People never forget those who remember them. But remembering people is only one part of respect. The next sign is even more powerful. People who truly respect you, respect your boundaries. 6. They respect your boundaries. Imagine receiving a phone call late at night. You don't answer because you're resting. The next morning, the person simply sends a message. No worries, call me when you're free. No guilt, no pressure, no anger, just understanding. That simple response reveals emotional maturity. Respect recognizes that every person has limits. Limits on their time, their energy, their privacy, their emotional capacity. Unfortunately, some people confuse access with entitlement. They expect immediate replies, constant availability, unlimited emotional support. But healthy relationships understand something different. Love without respect becomes control. Friendship without respect becomes dependency. Respect says, I value you enough to honor your boundaries. Story. A successful entrepreneur was known for never answering business calls during family dinner. Some colleagues complained. Others admired. Some colleagues admired his discipline. One day, a young employee finally asked him, how can you ignore business calls when you're responsible for such a large company? The entrepreneur smiled and answered, because if I teach people that my family time can always be interrupted, they will never respect it. And if I don't respect my own boundaries, why should anyone else? His answer wasn't about avoiding work. It was about protecting what mattered most. Years later, his employees adopted the same principle. Productivity improved. Stress decreased. Relationships at home became stronger. The lesson was simple. People who genuinely respect you won't pressure you to sacrifice your peace just to satisfy their convenience. They understand that healthy boundaries don't weaken relationships. They strengthen them. Think about the people in your life. Who respects your no without making you feel guilty? Who understands when you need time to rest? Who encourages you to take care of yourself instead of constantly demanding more from you? Those people aren't simply being polite. They're demonstrating respect, and perhaps you should do the same for others. There's another sign that reveals true respect. It appears when something wonderful happens in your life. Not everyone celebrates your success, but the people who genuinely respect you do. 7. They celebrate your success without feeling threatened. Imagine receiving the biggest promotion of your career. Excited, you call your closest friends. Most congratulate you. But listen carefully. Some congratulations sound different. Some are warm. Others are forced. Some people celebrate your success as if it were their own. Others become strangely distant. Why? Because success reveals the condition of the heart. People who secretly respect you aren't threatened by your growth. They don't compare your journey with theirs. They don't secretly hope you'll fail so they can feel better about themselves. Instead, they become your loudest supporters. Psychologists have found that secure people are generally more able to celebrate the achievements of others because another person's success doesn't diminish their own worth. Think about that for a moment. Your light doesn't make mine shine any less, and my success doesn't reduce your potential. Life isn't a competition where only one person can win. It's a journey where many people can thrive together. Two young musicians began their careers at the same time. They performed in small cafes, shared the same dreams, faced the same disappointments. After several years, one of them signed a major recording contract. Reporters expected jealousy from the other musician. Instead, he attended the celebration, hugged his friend, and said, "Your success reminds me that dreams really can come true." Years later, when his own opportunity finally arrived, his friend was sitting in the front row cheering just as loudly. Respect creates friendships where success is shared instead of envied. The next time someone around you succeeds, celebrate them sincerely. Send the message, make the phone call, leave the encouraging comment. The habit of celebrating others changes your own heart just as much as it blesses theirs. Respect doesn't only appear through encouragement, it also appears through curiosity. People who value your mind will seek your opinion. 8. They ask for your opinion. Imagine sitting in a meeting. Several people are discussing an important decision. Before anyone votes, someone turns toward you and says, "What do you think?" That simple question carries enormous meaning. It says, your thoughts matter. People don't consistently seek advice from those they don't respect. They ask because they trust your judgment, not because they expect perfection, but because they value your perspective. This happens in families, in businesses, among friends, and in healthy marriages. Respect isn't about always agreeing. It's about believing another person's viewpoint deserves consideration. A grandfather became known in his community for his wisdom. He had no university degree, no famous title, no public office. Yet every Saturday afternoon people gathered on his porch. Young couples, business owners, students, parents. Not because he always had the perfect answer, but because he always listened carefully before speaking. One visitor later said, "He never made decisions for us. He simply helped us think more clearly." That is the quiet influence of a respected person. 9. They keep their promises. Promises are easy to make. Keeping them is much harder. Every promise is like placing a brick into the foundation of a relationship. Each fulfilled promise strengthens trust. Each broken promise weakens it. People who secretly respect you understand that your time, your emotions, and your expectations matter. That's why they don't casually say, "I'll call you tomorrow," if they have no intention of calling. They don't promise to help if they know they won't show up. They understand that integrity is built through consistency, one fulfilled promise at a time. A father promised his daughter that no matter how busy work became, he would attend her school graduation. The week of the ceremony, an important international meeting was scheduled for the same day. His colleagues urged him to cancel. Instead, he rescheduled the meeting. Years later, his daughter admitted, "Ask yourself this question: do people feel safe asking for your advice? Or do they fear being judged?" Respect grows where humility and wisdom meet. But perhaps the clearest sign of all has nothing to do with words. It has everything to do with reliability. Because respect always keeps its promises. 10. They make time for you. Time is the only resource that every human being possesses in equal measure. 24 hours. No one receives 25. No one receives less than 24. Money can be earned again. A career can be rebuilt. Even health can sometimes be restored. But once a moment passes, it is gone forever. That's why one of the clearest signs of respect is time. Imagine two friends. One constantly says, "We'll meet soon." Weeks become months. Months become years. The other may be just as busy. They have deadlines, responsibilities, family commitments. Yet somehow, they still find an hour for coffee, a quick phone call, a birthday message, a visit when life becomes difficult. Why? Because people make time for what they truly value. This doesn't mean someone who misses a meeting doesn't respect you. Life happens. Emergencies arise. Schedules become overwhelming. But over the long run, patterns reveal priorities. People who genuinely respect you consistently make room for you in their lives. Not because it's convenient, because you matter. An elderly man was once asked the secret behind 50 years of marriage. People expected him to mention love, patience, communication. Instead, he smiled and said, "Every day, I made sure my wife knew she was never competing with my work for my attention." He explained that every evening, no matter how demanding the day had been, he spent time sitting with her. Sometimes they talked for hours. Sometimes they simply watched the sunset together. Those moments seemed ordinary, but after 50 years, they had become extraordinary. Relationships aren't built by occasional grand gestures. They're built by consistent moments of presence. Ask yourself honestly, who always seems too busy for you, and who somehow always finds time? The answer may tell you more about respect than 1,000 compliments ever could. Likewise, ask yourself another question. Who have you unintentionally neglected because life became busy? Perhaps today is the day to send that message. Make that call. Reconnect. Because respect grows where attention is consistently given. Let's pause for a moment. We've explored 10 quiet signs of genuine respect. Not expensive gifts, not dramatic speeches, not public praise, but the small moments most people overlook. People who respect you, listen carefully, trust you with responsibility, tell you the truth, protect your reputation, remember what matters to you, honor your boundaries, celebrate your victories, seek your perspective, keep their promises, and make time for you. None of these actions require wealth. None require fame. They simply require character. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all. Respect isn't demanded. It isn't purchased. It isn't forced. It is earned. One decision at a time, one conversation at a time, one act of integrity at a time. If you spend your life chasing attention, you may receive applause. But if you spend your life building character, you'll earn something far more valuable: respect. Conclusion. Imagine yourself 20 years from now. People gather to describe the kind of person you were. What will they remember? Will they remember how expensive your car was? Probably not. Will they remember how many followers you had online? Unlikely. But they'll remember something much deeper. How you made them feel. Whether they felt heard. Whether they felt valued. Whether they felt safe. Whether your words matched your actions. Because long after people forget what you owned, they remember how you treated them. Respect leaves fingerprints on every life it touches. So don't chase popularity. Don't chase approval. Don't chase appearances. Instead, become the kind of person whose character speaks before your words ever do. Because in the end, respect isn't something people are told to give you. It's something they naturally feel when they experience your life. If this documentary made you think differently about relationships, then you've already taken the first step toward becoming someone people naturally respect. Here on this channel, we're on a journey to understand the hidden psychology behind human behavior, emotional intelligence, success, confidence, and meaningful relationships. Every week, we'll uncover powerful ideas that help you understand both yourself and the people around you. If you enjoy thoughtful documentaries like this, subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications, and join thousands of curious minds committed to becoming wiser every single week. Before you go, answer this question in the comments. Which of these 10 signs of respect has impacted your life the most, and why? I'd love to read your story. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and remember, master the mind, master life. Watch next. Why smart people stay quiet. 15 psychological truths that will change how you see people forever. Subscribe.